5.4, solve compound inequalities. A compound inequality consists of two separate inequalities joined by and, or. We have that x is greater than -2. We have that x is less than or equal to 1. We could also say that as a compound inequality. X is greater than -2 and x is less than 1, and we could graph them on the same graph. Make sure that you always go from least to greatest in your compound inequality so that you graph it correctly. We also have or. We can see that x is greater than or equal to 0. X is less than -1. This would be x is less than -1 or x is greater than 0. They're going in opposite directions here. And they're coming in together and meeting at the middle. It's everything in between there. Example 1, translate the verbal phrases into an inequality, then graph the inequality. All real numbers that are greater than -2 and less than 3. We have -2. Our variable will be in the middle. And we have 3. It says that all real numbers that are greater than -2. X is greater than. What's next to the x? The open part, the greater part. X is greater than -2 and less than 3. I want to have the small part less next to the x. We're reading in two different directions. We're starting at the x and we're reading to the left. X is greater than -2. And then we start at the x and we read in the right direction. X is less than 3. Our number line is going to look with -2 and 3. It's going to be open circles. We have that x is greater than -2. This is the greater than direction, getting bigger. X is less than 3. This is getting less. So what happens? They're meeting in the middle. We can just draw a straight line. All right. All real numbers that are less than 0 or greater than or equal to 2. All real numbers that are less than 0, x is going to be less than 0 or greater than or equal to 2. X is greater than or equal to 2. If I write that as a compound inequality, on the graph, we have 0 and we have 2. X is less than 0 is an open circle, and then x is greater than or equal to 2 is a closed circle. X is less than 0. X is less than 0. X is greater than or equal to 2. So either you have your lines meeting in the middle or you have them going out. What you'll never have them doing is going in the same direction. Example 2. A crane sits on top of a camera car and faces toward the front. The crane's maximum height and minimum height above the ground are shown. 18 feet, 4 feet above the ground. Write and graph a compound inequality that describes the possible heights of the crane. We have our variable in between. The crane would be greater than 4 feet and less than 18 feet. So x is going to be greater than or equal to 4 feet and then less than or equal to 8 feet. Again, my number line goes from least to greatest. It can be 4 feet and it can be 18 feet. X is greater than 4 and less than 18. Example 3, solve and graph your solution. We need to focus on where the variable is. Here's the variable, and the variable is being added by 5. We're going to undo that by subtracting 5. We have a compound inequality. It's like having two equal signs. We need to subtract 5 from the 9, and we need to subtract 5 from the 2. You need to do it 3 times, once where the variable is, and then on each end. Here they cancel, and we have x And we have the same symbol. We're not multiplying or dividing by a negative. We're just adding and subtracting. 9 minus 5 is 4. 2 minus 5 is -3. And now I graph. -3, 4. My number line is set up least to greatest. We have an open circle at -3. We have an open circle at 4. It says x is greater than -3. This is the greater direction. X is less than 4. This is the less direction, and they meet in the middle. Focusing in on my variable that's in between the two inequalities. I see this as a two-step equation because x is being subtracted by 3, and it's also being multiplied by a negative. We start by undoing the adding and subtracting first. So we're going to add 3 and add 3 to both ends. Those cancel, and we have -x. And I'm going to bring down my symbols, my inequality signs. 2 plus 3 is 5. -5 plus 3 is -2. The last thing that I have to do here is to undo that negative. What is the number that you see with the x? There is a -1 here. X is being multiplied by -1, so I would divide by -1 and do that to both ends. I just divided by a negative number. That means I need to flip my inequality signs, both of them. Negative divided by negative leaves us a positive x, exactly what we needed. 5 divided by -1 is -5. -2 divided by -1 is a positive 2. Again, my signs are facing in the same direction. They're never going to be facing in opposite directions. I need to be careful when I make my number line because -5 is the smaller number and 2 is the larger number. It needs to reflect a real number line. What does it say? It says x is greater than or equal to -5. Close circle for equal, and x is greater than -5. Now, if I look at the other side, it says x is less than or equal to 2. X is less than 2. And it's also equal to it. And then here's the less direction, and they're going to meet in the middle.